For healthier farms and thriving Maui Superfood Forest, Valley Global is on the road mastering regenerative agriculture straight from the masters. Our latest stop was with Vincent and Rick at Kahanu Aina Greens, where we absorbed their wisdom of natural fertilizers. And we're pretty excited because we received a wonderful package of these powerful fertilizers that we'll be using on our Maui Superfood Forest.
Jadam was created by Master Cho's son. Basically, you're just taking a barrel that you're putting leaf in, a lot of leaf in, submerging in water, and then putting a potato that you allow it to ferment, thank you, and then into the liquid, and it becomes at a place where you could use it to water your plants and stuff, but it's anaerobic. It's not aerobic like these, it's anaerobic. So you're using anaerobic microbes that are found in the lower strata of your soil. The rhizosphere is your top 7 inches. And what makes up the rhizosphere is air. That's why it's called the rhizosphere. It's where fence posts rot. That's how they found out what the rhizosphere is. That's where all your aerobic bacteria is, all your living bacteria. Below that is anaerobic, okay? And so you want to be able to manage, you know, when I farm, when I grow anything, I first approach it as I'm managing the rhizosphere. You manage the rhizosphere properly, everything else, you know, works well, you know? Now, the key between compost and soil is you think of yourself as a plant, okay? You're stationary, right? You're not moving around. You basically set your roots down and you're stationary. But you got the sun you're in relationship with. And the sun's photosynthesizing through the plant proteins and sugars that are pulsating in the soil. Literally, the roots are exuding proteins and sugars into the soil constantly, yeah? Well, guess who feeds on the proteins and sugars? The mycelium, right. So the mycelium goes out and scavenges the clay colloid. Now the mycelium roots are small enough to get in between those platelets, okay? Remember I was saying the platelets are stacked on each other? Well, the mycelium gets in between the platelet, pulls off the elementals off of the platelet, comes back to the plant roots and goes, here plants, here's the minerals that you're looking for. And the plants go, shaka brada, here's the proteins and sugars that keep you guys well. So there's a symbiotic relationship that goes on between the plant roots and the mycelial roots. Now, why can't the plant roots get access to those minerals? Is because they're too big. The mycelial roots are small enough to get in between the particles, the clay particles, okay? So that's, if you approach your farming or gardening practices with that in mind, that you're managing the rhizosphere, that the relationship between your plant roots and your mycelial roots is there. You know, when you chemical fertilizers and stuff, it basically bypasses that relationship. It's kind of intravenous. Now, there's a really beautiful book called Healthy Plants, Healthy Crops. The man who wrote it did a thesis on it, and it was amazing. I mean, the book back several years ago was like $800. Now you can get it pretty cheap, $200. But even cheaper, if you go to Gaia, G-A-I-A Foundation.org, GaiaFoundation.org, they have it for free online. You can read it, okay? Francis Chaboso is the author. I'm not an agronomist. If I was, I would be able to devour the whole book. I was able to devour about 2 chapters before it just went, you know? And, but it's amazing. He really articulates it well. And the thing to remember is this, that I gleaned from that book. When plants express themselves as a complete protein, yeah, bugs can't eat it because bugs haven't evolved to eat complete protein. They only evolved to eat incomplete protein. So if you have that understanding, because people go, well, what do I got these bugs, what do I do? I don't deal with that. It tells me, okay, what you're doing, Vince, isn't right. That plant isn't expressing itself as a complete protein. So you need to do something different to get the plant strong enough. And that always has to do with the soil. That's where Aloha Aina, Malama Aina come in. And what you'll see in the microscope is the development of humic structures, like I was talking about earlier. And those humic structures in the soil is what will keep plants well, keep them healthy. Now, a humic structure, we know what humus is? Humus is the breakdown of organic material to its utmost degree before it disappears. It becomes really stable at that point, okay? And that's what you want. You want organic matter to be broken down to a place of it being a humic structure, developing as a humic structure. So, like I always like to say, we all need to have more of a sense of humus. It's true. When we work the land, it's really important. I did a TED Talk back in 2012 when they had TED Maui here. It was the first year. And I met a guy who also was did TED Talk, Gary Greenberg, beautiful man. He did microscopic filming of moon sand for NASA. Yeah. And so I befriended him, and he did some really great microscopic work for me when I brought him some samples of this stuff. And when you fly to the mainland at night and you look down and it's real dark in some areas, and all of a sudden it comes upon a city and you see all the network of light, that's what it looks like as far as the mycelial network. Because there's that relationship between our bodies and the soil, what we're talking about here, and in growing our food. And then, when I was talking about earlier as far as weeds go, you want to make sure that you got, when the more the balance of calcium you have in your soil, those cuckoo weeds go away. The general vitality of that weed goes away. It won't grow there anymore. Isn't that cool? Chris Trump, guy we're telling you about to go on YouTube, he took IMO2 and did soil drenches on one side of the pasture that had fireweed. And on the other side, I think he even used IMO3. The other side didn't do anything. And where he did the treatment, it disappeared. Just took the general vitality away. Now the government's spending choke money on herbicides and what poison that basically is just nuking the soil, destroying the immune system that could keep that stuff at bay. You take the general vitality of the plant away, it's not going to do good. And so a lot of those cuckoo weeds that you see, it's because of calcium deficiency. They did a study on this called Weeds Why, and it showed that when there's an excess or a deficiency in the soil, certain plants will do well. So what we're looking at here is worm castings. Now grab this and then go in and out for your eye socket. You take your glasses off, might help. What he's looking at are the development of humic structures in these worm castings. And the worm castings, the other day I was looking at it. Can you see the worm? Yeah. I could actually see the worm pooping out a humic structure. Wow. one of its castings. Come on, jump in, you guys, who haven't seen it yet. And you can see the food inside the worm processing through. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Jump in. Next Petri dish is IMO4, okay? And what that is coconut husk, mushroom waste, EL sediment, and we'll show you all that. And the mycelium on it. Now this has been in this Petri dish for a few weeks. No moisture, no air pretty much, right? And wait till you see the fungal the mycelial development on it. So go in and out with this to adjust to your eye.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
There you go.
Oh, it's amazing. It's a whole other
Whole other world.
Yeah, whole other city, whole world. Wow.
Anybody else haven't seen it? So at night I'll go in the room and I'll just trip out, you know, looking at this stuff. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the mycelium. This is on what you're going to be making today.
What's the magnification on that?
This one is double the magnification of what the scope is. Yeah, here you go. Hey, Petunia. Come look at this, guys and gals. That's IMO4. I mean, to me, it's really inspiring when you see it at this microscopic level, because you know this is what you're working towards in the soil, you know? This is what you're working towards to achieve. Now, you know what the difference between dirt and soil is? And I'm going to quote Dr. Elaine Ingham, who just passed away, as a matter of fact. She said, soil is living. Dirt's the stuff you have on your shoes when you come home from work and it's on your driveway. You know, that's the difference. Okay, rest in love, Elaine. The eggshells, Ricky just cooked these eggshells. He took the membranes off them first. Water-soluble calcium is made from eggshells. And basically what we do is we take the eggshells and break them up and then cook them in a wok to where they come golden. We don't want to burn them, cook them, you know, we just want to make it come golden. And you know, the membrane that's inside the egg will fly off as it is cooked in that respect, or you can take them out from the beginning. The beautiful thing about, what I like about making water-soluble calcium is that there's a chemical reaction that happens using brown rice vinegar. So you take your eggshells and you put 10 parts of brown rice vinegar into the, you put the brown rice vinegar into your jar, and then you take the cooked eggshells that are just golden, yeah, and what it basically is doing is fracturing the eggshells, and you sprinkle them into your jar as you add them to 10 parts of brown rice vinegar, and what'll happen is they'll just start to dance into the jar like a lava lamp. They raise to the top and drop to the bottom, raise to the top, drop to the bottom. And basically it's a chemical reaction that's taking the calcium carbonate out of the eggshells. So it's readily available calcium carbonate to where you're only adding 1 capful per 5 gallons of water. So doing that in the soil drenches helps bring up your calcium levels. So water-soluble calcium is really a beautiful product and easy to make. It lasts a long time because it's in vinegar. Once the brown rice vinegar is added to the eggshell, it'll release the calcium carbonate. And it looks like, you know, back in the day when I was young, we had lava lamps, you know, and you turn on the light and the lava, you know, the glumps would dance up and down, you know. Well, that's what it kind of reminds me of. Because what's happening is the eggshells will start to dance in the jar and then drop and dance and drop. So finally they all settle, and then that's when you know it's ready. And then you strain it. I got it.
And after you put it in the jar, you want to take it out. Or the vinegar.
So this is pure calcium carbonate, which is really cool. You know, oyster shells, ground up oyster shell is pure calcium carbonate. See, 20 milliliters, OHN, right? 20 milliliter. All your bottles will have it written, whether it's 20 or 40. It's really impressive how Ricky's, you know, embraced all these because he's really good at it. He made all the OHN that we have. And what was it, like 16 gallons? Was it 16 gallons it ended up being?
We never really calculated.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
Well, you want to mix it with the other amendments. You just don't want to use the calcium carbonate, you know, as a drench. You can use it as a drench, but you know, when you have other plants that you're feeding, I would use all the amendments. Okay. Yeah. And then as far as raising your calcium levels, You just have to check your soil test once a year, twice a year maybe, see if there's been any change. Gives you kind of a ballpark as to how much more you could add. Just keep records of when you're doing it. I went to Long's to buy the vodka, you know, full-on shopping cart full of vodka, and the next day we were expecting a hurricane. And the people in line went, "Hey man, I'd like to come to your party," you know. So we were having a hurricane party.
You got a picture. Everybody's loaded up with their carts and they're full of water and
Right.
Vienna sausage and stuff. And this guy comes only vodka.
Only vodka.
Vincent Mina.
Priorities. Huh?
Holy cow.
Right.
I would have never.
Thankfully, nobody knew me in line. So, any questions? So, what you've seen so far, you've seen IMO 1 being cultured into IMO 2. You've seen fermented plant juice with comfrey and fermented fruit juice. Well, actually, would banana be fruit juice? No, plant juice.
But the bananas would be.
The bananas would be fermented fruit juice. Same process. Same process. So you've seen fermented plant juice with the banana and the comfrey leaf. You've seen LAB finished, taking out the cheese curd. We're going to put this in the worm bin and have the worms go at it.
The road to regenerative agriculture continues. We're applying these natural methods to create more of a vibrant farm that feed Maui families affected by wildfires. Join us at valleyglobal.org to support the Maui Superfood Forest and our relief work.